Welcome back, everyone, to the Big Men on Campus podcast. I'm your host, the Big Men on Campus, here with my co-host, Ryan D'Amico. You can find him on Twitter at DiaDia18, DIA18. We're back with a Week 2 NFL preview. Allowed the waves to kind of crash on the beach, Ryan, this week. We're going to jump in, though, this week. Week 2 coming at you. Welcome in, Ryan. How you doing?
Good, Jeff. I'm doing great. How are you tonight, man?
Good. We did our Week 3 college preview, which is out. We're going to do our Week 2. We didn't get involved in Week 1, Ryan. You were out in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So we decided we'll take a shot tonight and get it started. You're a big NFL guy. We're big Eagles fans over here in the Philadelphia area, but we're looking to break the games down against the spread. All of them. We'll give a pick for each one. And this is something we've done before, Ryan. Last year, the 2016 season, you and I would do a show every Sunday morning breaking down all the NFL games. NFL's a big thing for you, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I've always been a big NFL guy. Wasn't always a big college guy. Kind of got into that, around middle school or whatnot. But yeah, I've always been into NFL really, really heavily. So, it's funny. I was talking to one of my friends, and we were just kind of discussing how last week. I was listening to one of your and Donnie's shows recently, and I heard Donnie make the mention that he thought it was a good week, and I couldn't disagree more. I thought last week was terrible. I mean, outside of like the Eagles game, because we're Eagles fans, I thought obviously it was an exciting game. I thought the rest of the weekend was absolutely terrible.
Yeah, there were a lot of low-scoring football games. Unders came in at a heavy clip, 10-4-1 to the under. And, Ryan, usually the public likes to bet overs and favorites. A lot of dogs came in last week, and a lot of unders came in. So for the books, it was a great week. A lot of teasers went down. You look at, obviously, New England was the big one on Thursday night, but all weekend the books cleaned up and really pretty much cleaned up until the Sunday night football game. Public did cash in on Dallas, but you look at the Monday night games as well. Those kind of almost fell in the numbers. Some of them middled, but overall, big weekend for the books. Yeah, from a game perspective, wasn't the best. I mean, there weren't a lot of really good games to watch. I mean, maybe other than the Eagles, Washington was good. There were a couple close games. But overall, it wasn't a great week. But let's jump into Week 2. Hopefully it's a better week, and hopefully we have some fun here. 261, 262. Let's take a look at the Tennessee Titans against the Jacksonville Jaguars. This one's interesting. You have a pick at Bet Online. Bovada has 3. Now, keep in mind, Bovada is a very square book. They're going to always offer some of the worst prices on favorites. That's just because most of the public bets at Bovada. It's a very square book. Keep in mind, though, Ryan, most line, this is about a 1-point favorite. Bet Online has picks, so if you like the Titans, feel free to head on over to Bet Online to get that price. But, Ryan, let's jump into the game. Tennessee off of a loss in Week 1. I like this matchup a lot more for them. You look in Week 1, Oakland was a really good passing offense. They really had some trouble with. This week, though, they go on the road. They face a Jacksonville team who, even though they beat Houston pretty good, they really didn't have a great night passing the football. Blake Bortles isn't a guy that you really want throwing the ball a ton. I just think this is a better matchup for Tennessee. They're facing a team in Jacksonville's off a big win. Now they kind of come back home and kind of move on, and this might be a letdown for them here. I know it's an AFC South game, but I just think Tennessee's going to have a little bit more success throwing the football. And Jacksonville's not a team that you really want to trust week after week. They still have a guy in Bortles who I don't want to put my money in the hands of. For me, I'm looking Titans here to bounce back. Any thoughts on this game?
Yeah, excuse me, I like Titans as well. Definite letdown area here for the Jaguars after the big win. Big, pounding of the Texans. But you look at that game, they won that game on the defensive side of the ball. Texans, right now, we're actually getting ready to watch them here shortly. Offensively, they really don't have an identity right now. So I think Jacksonville really just kind of pounced on that. Different story this weekend. Tennessee, they know what they want to do on offense with Mariota, the running game, receivers they got outside. So I think Jacksonville is going to be in for a little bit of a wake-up call this weekend. And quite frankly, Tennessee needs the game more. So, I mean, it boils down to that as well. I mean, a Tennessee team that has admirations of winning this division, you really don't want to fall behind the eight ball and go 0-2 to start the year. So, yeah, I like Tennessee in this spot.
Yeah, and you look at that game for Jacksonville offensively against Houston. Look, I don't really think it was anything they particularly did. I mean, Fournette was pretty good, but other than that, I mean, they only had 125 yards passing. Bortles was 11 for 21. He's 50%. And they did benefit from 4 turnovers in that game from Tom Savage. So,
Plus, they lose Allen Robinson, Jeff, for the year, so he's not going to
right.
be in there this week.
That's another point we have to make. I mean, I don't know if you know, Ryan, but their starting receivers are Aurelius Ben and
For real.
Marquise Lee. Aurelius Ben has been in the league for years. He's been
Yep.
been to like every team. So, yeah, I think they're going to have some trouble moving the football in this game. It's not going to be as easy as it was in week one, where you're gifted 4 turnovers and, quarterback that just has no business in the NFL. So, yeah, I think we agree here. Tennessee, definitely the play. I think last week they were kind of people kind of fell in love a little bit too much with Tennessee, and I ended up taking Oakland last week. I got a money line on them at plus 120. I thought
Yep.
for me, when you're getting a team in Oakland at plus 120, I think you got to take a shot with that. So let's go with Tennessee here as our first play at the current price. Look, you can lay the money line here. That's fine, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think they win this game easily. So we'll get the minus -05 juice here and lay the 1 point. Cleveland at Baltimore, 263, 264. Baltimore lane 8, over under 38.5. And as many would think, this total is plummeted. I mean, it opened 41. It's been bet down all week to 38.5. You don't normally see a ton of movement in the NFL. 3-point movement, and it's only Thursday night. That would show me that I think this number is going to come down even a little bit more. But I ask myself, you have a guy in Kaiser going on the road here, first road game. I see a team in Pittsburgh or in Baltimore, who is possibly the best defensive team in the NFL. I mean, they're getting there. A really impressive football team. I think this is going to be a time where Kaiser's going to struggle a little bit. Limited weapons for the most part. And I know, Ryan, you're not a big Baltimore guy. I think this is a low-scoring game. I'm going to actually kind of agree with the public here. I think if you look at Bet Online, you can get 39. You can actually get 39.5 at Heritage. For me, I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go under 39.5 here. I just don't think we see a ton of points scored in this game. I think Cleveland's a better defense than people think. They have a good front seven, an improved secondary. I think this is a really low-scoring football game. Any thoughts here?
Yeah, I like where your head's at with the under. If you listen to our NFL preview show, we talked about Baltimore at length there and made mention that we thought this was going to be an under team all year. I believe that held serve in week one. It did. That game goes under 20-0. It goes under pretty easily. They get the shutout there. So, yeah, I like where your head's at there. As far as the side goes, I actually like Cleveland. Look, I know people are going to look at the ATS trends over the last few years and be like, this team has been terrible. But I'm telling you, I just have a feeling like I think Cleveland's starting a corner, not like a sharp corner to where they're trending upward like at a rapid pace. But this team like resembles a okay football team now. Like I just feel a little more comfortable with them than I did in years past. And let's see what Kaiser does on the road. Obviously, a big test. But if I had to pick a side, though, Jeff, call me crazy. I would take the 8 points and put it in my pocket and take Cleveland. But definitely, I think the stronger play is the under. That's definitely where I would be looking as well. So for sure, take the under in this spot.
Yeah, I mean, for what I've seen out of both football teams, I just don't see a ton of action. I think Kaiser's going to struggle here on the road. I think Baltimore's going to struggle all year to move the football. That's just kind of who they are, and they play great defense. Two pretty good defensive sides, and I think that's one of the things about the Browns that I like more than I have in the past. I mean, they've had the problem in the secondary, and they had trouble last year. But you look at all of a sudden this year. I mean, you go out and get your Bureau Peppers. You have Jason McCourty there, and that front seven with Carl Nassib, Danny Shelton, Ugba, Collins. Pretty impressive all of a sudden. So for me, I think we can agree here. Plus, you throw in Myles Garrett, the number one pick. So
right, and look what how Baltimore won that game last week. They ran the ball, I believe, 43 times, if I remember correctly, and had success and held the ball. And I don't think they're going to have that same success this week. When you look at like you talked about the front seven, what Cleveland did last week against the Pitt running game and really kind of stifling Le'Veon Bell. So I think you see the same similarities there again this week.
Yeah, keep in mind, Myles Garrett will be back at some point. He hasn't played yet, but if that's only throwing him back into the fold at some point, that's only going to help this defense. So, yeah, I think overall we're going to see a low-scoring game here. What do you think, Ryan? 2014, something like that?
Sounds about right.
17-14, something like that. We'll go under 39.5, and you can get that line at Heritage minus 105. 265, 266. Buffalo Bills at Carolina. Carolina laying 8.5. Actually, 8.5 set only one book, so we'll shy away from that one. One thing you have to realize, guys, when you're dealing with a book like Five Dimes, a very popular book, but keep in mind they juice up their numbers to entice bettors to take them. They're one of the books that does that. They'll put a play out at 8.5 minus 130. You're paying a ton of juice to get that extra number. So again, if you like an underdog, you don't probably mind doing that. But make sure you're line shopping. That's the biggest thing I'll tell anyone that has that sports bet. If you're sports betting and you have one book, you probably should go do something else for your time because you're losing out on games. And in the NFL, every half point is crucial. Do yourself a favor. Go look. Make sure you're getting 1, 2, 3 different books. Make sure you're getting the best of it. But for the sake of the show, Ryan, I see 7.5 at Pinnacle, 7.5 at Intertops. Carolina Lane 7.5 over under is 43 across the board. And Ryan, this is an interesting game because I saw last week, Cam Newton. I don't know that he didn't look as good as he usually does.
He looked like Cam Newton, Jeff.
Right. Again,
he looked like Cam Newton.
Right, but I guess when I say that, I mean like he's better than most quarterbacks. Let's say he just didn't look as crisp, and with all the weapons that they've given him at this point with Benjamin and Greg Olsen and McCaffrey. Again, they had the luck of playing the 49ers in week one, a team that was inept at moving the football. I think you have a lot of kind of little things here that we have to point out. Buffalo's coach, Sean McDermott, coached at Carolina for a number of years. Mike Tolbert played at Carolina for a number of years. I think they're going to be integral to the game plan in this game. And I don't mind leaning on McCoy in this game. I think the front seven for Carolina is pretty good. If Tyrod Taylor can just not turn the football over, try to keep this game close, I get a weird feeling this is a close football game. I just don't know that I'm ready to lay a big number with Carolina. Again, you're not a big Cam Newton guy. I know you're not a big Cam Newton guy. Neither am I. I think they had a lot of luck playing San Francisco, who, Ryan had like 220 yards in game one. I'm not big on this game. It's one of the games that I have no real opinion on, but for the sake of the show, I'm going to actually lean under 43. I think this is another low-scoring game. I think Buffalo will, unfortunately, doesn't have a great passing game, so I think they're going to struggle in moving the football here. And I think Carolina will as well with the added fact that Sean, what was the coach's name? McDermott. Sorry. I keep thinking of McCaffrey. McDermott, I'm sorry. I think he has an added kind of wrinkle in knowing this offense. I think we're going to see a lower scoring game here. I wouldn't be surprised if Buffalo gets gets past 10 points. I think they really struggle in this game. We'll see. Not a big fan, but I'll go under 43. Any thoughts here, Ryan?
Not really, man. You hit the nail on the head. I have zero interest in this game whatsoever. I think both of these teams. I'll be honest. I'm not high on both of these teams at all. I think both these teams, as we get deeper and deeper into the season, are just going to continue to struggle. I'm really concerned with Buffalo. The way they looked week one against a Jets team is probably the worst team in the league. And then the way Carolina looked against, they went against San Francisco. They won the game by 20 points, but it's just that game. It didn't have like that dominant feel. Like it wasn't a 20-point win. And then, like you said, lucky they're playing San Francisco, whose offense is pretty anemic at this point. So, Cam Newton just didn't overwhelm anyone there. So, I would lean Buffalo with the points, but they've dominated the series since Carolina has come into the league. So, I would slightly lean there, but nothing that I'm going to get involved with at all.
Yeah, interesting stuff out of Carolina camp. according to Joe Person, he covers Carolina. Thomas Davis didn't practice yesterday, but then a minute later he tweeted that Ron Rivera said Thomas Davis's knee is nothing to be concerned about. So kind of weird signals there. He didn't practice, but his
Guess
knee's okay.
precautionary or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, who
okay.
knows?
So that's interesting. But either way, just not a ton on this game. Ryan, give a play just for the show. Are you going to
I
go
did.
under?
I said Buffalo.
Okay, you're going to go Buffalo.
Yeah.
For the sake of the show, we'll give you 7.5. Actually, you know what? We'll give you, we'll give you, it's up to you. You want 8.5 actually, we'll give you 8.5 because that's the best number. You're going to have to lay
You're
a
gonna
little
keep
juice.
giving, yeah. You're gonna give me a point and another point and a
All
half
right.
or a full point. I'll take it.
And what we're going to do, we're going to put ourselves out there. We did it last year. We'll do it this year. We actually did pretty well last year, Ryan. If we can, we can talk for a second. I think we were like around 55%. We give it every game. I mean, we were pretty good. So I'll make a list of our plays. We'll add them up at the end. And, again, if we cancel a game out, clearly it'll just cancel out. There's nothing we can do about that. But Ryan, for the sake of the show, is going to go with the Buffalo Bills plus 8.5 at 5 dimes. I'm going to go under 43, minus 105 at what are we at? Pinnacle. Next one, big one here, Ryan. 267, 268. New England Patriots minus 6 at New Orleans. Over under 56. Ryan, I'm going to go off the reservation here for a moment. I think New Orleans sucks. I don't think they're very good. I think they're a team that lacks a lot of playmakers on offense other than Drew Brees. I think defensively it's the same old shit with this team every year. You could put 6 new players on this team and they wouldn't do anything defensively. They're just not any good. It's a shame that his whole career, Drew Brees has never had much of a defense. And this year, Marcus Colston ain't walking through the door. Brandon Cooks ain't walking through the door. Jimmy Graham isn't walking through the door. They just don't have a ton of weapons right now. I think they're going to struggle mightily in this game. However, I'm going to go a little bit different in this game. I'm going to go with the team total opener at whatever it is. There's no team total just yet. And from the looks of the number, it's at 6. The total's at 56. That would mean that they're thinking that New Orleans will score about 25. I think New England's team total will be about 31. If I get 31, I'm going to just put it out there. Whatever the opener is for the team total for New England, I'm taking. I don't want to worry about New England's defense. Do I think they're going to cover the 6? Yes, but I don't want to worry about if they're going to. I think they have massive problems defensively, and I'm not really wanting to worry about if they're going to fix those. So for me, Ryan, I think Tom Brady has a big game here. I think Brandon Cooks has a big game. I think Gronk has a big game. And I think Bill Belichick has them very prepared in this game to attack. Give me New England team total over at the opener. Any thoughts, Ryan?
New England hasn't been under 2 games under 500 since Tom Brady's first year starting. So that would have been 2000 and full year starting. I believe that's 2002, 2003. Either way, it's a long time. It's a long time ago. That this team hasn't been 2 games under 500. Think about that. Think about how staggering that stat is to me. I heard that stat today, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, that's 15. It's that's over 15 years ago. That's just crazy what this team has done. And I wish I could be on fly on the wall at practice this week for the Patriots because I'm sure it was nothing short of a hell week that Belichick put them guys through. So, and rightfully so, they looked terrible last Thursday night. So, they should come out with a vengeance here. They should come out and do what they do. And you're right, the Saints, man, look, they played a good defense, a tough spot on the road against Minnesota. But still, I mean, that defense for New Orleans, they refuse to put any sort of stock in that defense too. You got these guys running around that are just no-namers. Great, you use the draft pick here and there on Kenny Vaccaro and Lattimore this year, but whoop-de-doo. You have to really go all in with that defense, and they haven't. So, and then losing Willie Snead to the suspension, I think the first 3 games of the season, you really felt that last week against Minnesota. I think you kind of feel that a little bit again this week. I'll tell you what, man. I'll ride the team total with you. We'll go joint on this pick.
I was hoping you'd give New England. We could hit it both ways, but
I mean, I like New England as well. I mean, I like a lot in this. I like the over. I like New England.
I'll
I
tell you
like the
what.
team total.
I'll tell you what. If you do it, I'll do it. Let's just go with. We'll go 2 picks for this game. We'll give out New England, and we'll give
Sure.
out New England team total over.
All right.
Both are at the opener. I'm thinking it's going to be 31. I mean, that would make sense. But I
Yeah.
honestly, I'd be okay with betting it at above 35. I think they put up 40 in this game. I really do. I would be surprised if
Okay.
New England doesn't drop the hammer here.
It's inside on the turf.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll go New England -6 at -105, and we'll go with over whatever the opener is at. Let's go with Bet Online. I like that book. Whatever Bet Online has. Actually, I'll
Okay.
tell you what. Bet Online's usually good with openers here. Let's doubtful that it's out, but I mean maybe I'm nuts in thinking that maybe they put it out already. I'm going to check here. And this is a live show. Just remember, it's not a live show, but we're not going to start it over. I'll tell you what, we'll just go with whatever they have. They probably don't have it out yet. Next game, 269, 270. Let's take a look at an interesting game here. Indianapolis and Arizona. Arizona laying 7.5. Over under is at 44. And Ryan, Arizona's a tough team to back right now. They're off of a bad loss in Detroit, a game in which they had too many turnovers, a game in which they couldn't put away, and a game that happened all in the fourth quarter. They gave up 20 points in the fourth quarter and lost to a Detroit team who's not very good either. Arizona also then lost their best player, David Johnson. And they're on the road in Indianapolis with a quarterback in Carson Palmer who just turns the ball over too much. I know Indianapolis is poor. I know that. But they have a guy in Brissett that I would hope starts this week. This is an ugly pick. Sometimes, Ryan, you got to get down with ugly picks. For me, I'm going to go with Indianapolis in this game. I just think there's too much going on with Arizona right now, and I don't know if they're going to get it turned around right away. I think they're a team that can be scored on. I think they're a team that's just kind of really low right now. Give me Indianapolis plus 7.5. Any thoughts?
Yeah, it's kind of the way I would lean with the home team catching more than a touchdown is with the Colts. It's going to be interesting to see what they do at quarterback because that position's a mess.
I mean, Ron, you would agree. They can't go back to Tolzien here. I mean, there's no way. I mean,
and it could. Yeah, but it's a shame because Brissett has been with the team for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I guess now at this point. Like it's not very long, but I mean he has some experience. If it was me, if I was Chuck Pagano, I'd throw him out there. Then again, Chuck Pagano has no idea what team he's playing any week. I'm not sure if you caught that. He said he was playing the Niners.
Well, it's time to move on from Chuck Pagano. I'm sick of the he had cancer 4 years ago. So Ryan, it was interesting today. We actually talked about this situation on our show today at sbrpicks.com, and we had a listener that made a comment, and he goes, I guess he was a Pagano fan. He made a comment and goes, well, I mean, TNT didn't get rid of Craig Sager when he had cancer. And I said, well, because Craig Sager was good.
And he's a commentator.
Right. And he was good at his job. I mean,
right.
This is a business. This isn't about, we got to remember, though, Chuck had cancer 4 years ago. So we don't want to be that team that does that. That's what teams that don't win. And I'm going to rate it to this point. Over in England, Arsenal Football Club has a major problem right now, Ryan. They have a coach named Arsene Wenger who's been there for 14 years, quite like Andy Reid. It's just time to go. They need an infusion of new talent, a new coach. He doesn't really know what he's doing anymore, but they won't make the move. And Stan Kroenke's the owner. And Stan Kroenke basically is a loser. He's a grade A loser. All of his franchises suck, and he runs Arsenal Football Club. So it's no surprise that he's not going to grow a backbone and say, we're moving on, because they're a bad team and they're a bad organization. Indianapolis is slowly walking the plank down that same edge of the cliff. They need to make a move. They need to consider changes here. The first change would be this weekend, putting in Jacoby Brissett and really considering moving on from Chuck Pagano. What do you think about this game, Ryan?
Yeah, I kind of lean again a game that's just. I mean, we like what Jeff said, we cover every game, so you're going to get a play regardless. But yeah, a game I won't get involved with. An interesting little trend that's running though. 15 out of the last 18 road games for Arizona have gone over the total. So both these teams soared over the total last week. So maybe that trend continues there. Just an interesting little trend stat for you guys. Yeah. For the sake of the show, though, I'll ride Indianapolis getting over a touchdown. I think a lot of people, see what happened last week and just kind of maybe pounce on them. Coming back home, at the end of the day, they still do have some playmakers on offense. So I think catching a touchdown, I think they'll be okay. I'm not a big believer in Carson Palmer. Plus, they lose David Johnson. They have no running game now, does Arizona. So, we'll grab the points with the Colts here.
I do believe also John Brown's injured as well, the receiver. So I mean that's another point as well. I know Mike Iupati's injured, their starting guard, Dansby as well. So they have some injuries right now. I just think if listen, and I want to preface this, it's gonna suck if they start Tolzien because we're getting 7.5 points with fucking Tolzien. I'm hoping that it's Brissett here, but I guess that's what we have to do sometimes. We'll
Yeah.
go Colts plus 7.5. 271, 272. Philadelphia Eagles at Kansas City. Kansas City laying 6 across the board. 47.5 on a total. And this is about the most solid line on the board. This has been 6 all day, and the total is sat at 6, 47.5 all day. At 4.5, I like the Eagles. At 6, I like the Eagles even more. I think Eric Berry being out hurts wholeheartedly. I think the Eagles had a lot of success moving the ball. I think a lot of it was negated by the lack of a proven running back and a proven play caller. But Doug Peterson, I'd hope's only going to get smarter at that. I am concerned about their secondary. I wonder how long you can go with Ronald Darby being out and your cornerback is Patrick Robinson and Jalen Mills. But look, they played pretty well. I mean, for the most part, they have good safeties, which is important. That can kind of help you if you have a poor corner. Good safeties can really go a long way, and their front seven's as good as anyone. I don't think Kareem Hunt will have as big a day as he had this week. They do lack a big play receiver. As long as they don't get hurt by Jason Kelsey, or not Jason Kelsey, Travis Kelsey. I'm sorry. I think they're going to be fine in this game. I'm going to take the points. I think they can win this game outright, to be honest with you, Ryan. And I'm not just saying that because I like the Eagles. I do generally believe they can win this football game. I think the game against New England was more of a New England just played like shit as opposed to Kansas City being that good. For me, I'm going to lean with the Eagles here, plus 6.
Yeah, interesting spot here. You got to think this is another possible letdown opportunity for Kansas City after putting on in front of the country in Week 1, the kickoff game against the Patriots. Um, I, it sucks because I want to lean the Eagles. Like I would definitely not even hesitate taking the Eagles if Ronald Darby was in there, but with the cornerback situation, I'm a little concerned. I mean, I'm really concerned, and because it's such a coin flip. Because if the front four doesn't get pressure, they won't cover this number, and they won't win the game. Obviously, if they can get pressure like they did last week, make Alex Smith really uncomfortable back there. That's obviously ideal, and they'll hang around. And like you said, Jeff, maybe even have a chance to win this game. So it's really going to come down to the front four and how much pressure they're able to get on Alex Smith and make his day a little miserable. So I'd like to see them run the ball a little bit too, kind of extend the game, run the ball more than they did last week. Even though Wentz did look good, obviously he's the franchise you want to throw the ball. So at 6. Yeah, I'll side with the Eagles just because I think the number's a little high. If that number was a little lower, like if it was 3-4, I might side with the Chiefs maybe. But with the 6, I'll grab them and I'll take the Eagles. They got to get pressure though. They have to get pressure. If they're not getting pressure, because we saw it last year where one week they'd get pressure like against the Steelers, killed the Steelers, i.e. because they got tons of pressure on Roethlisberger. Then weeks later they're not getting pressure. The front four disappears and the rest of the season was kind of a struggle. So imperative that they get pressure on Alex Smith. But I'll grab the points here.
And I think they're going to. I think obviously the concern I have is, like I said, the corners. They get Rasul Douglas back this week, the corner they drafted out of West Virginia. I'm interested to see him. I'm sure he'll play at some point, but they don't have a lot of depth. I mean, other than that, I mean, Rasul Douglas, they have Dexter McDougal, they picked up from the Jets, and that's pretty much it. I mean, they're really, and this is the problem that they've set themselves in by taking Sidney Jones. Think if you would have drafted Ryan, Jordan Lewis or someone that is healthy. I mean, that would have went a long way. And you know what, Ryan? That would almost have negated you being in this position with Ronald Darby because you never would have had to do that, and you could have kept Jordan Matthews. I'm not saying I mind them getting rid of Jordan Matthews, and they were just really unlucky here, but overall, they need to get pressure every game. But again, they get Douglas back, so that's big. Another concern I have, this game could be close. They have a brand new kicker in there this week in Jake Elliott, Ryan, who was a great kicker at Memphis, one of the best kickers ever in college history at Memphis. A really good leg, but he didn't win the job at Cincinnati. So there's a reason he didn't win the job. I'm concerned that we're going to be in a situation here where we're going to leave points on the board because of Jake Elliott.
Hasn't missed in practice yet this week, Jeff, so maybe that's an encouraging sign.
Wow, that's good to know. I mean, that's like saying, well, on paper, I hit every bet. I mean, why didn't I win?
Sure.
It's practice. They also have a new long snapper as well. There's some question marks here, but we'll hope for our sake, Ryan, that everything works out like we want it to. So we'll go Eagles +6. I'd love to see 7, but I doubt we'll see it.
Doubt it,
yeah. Next one. 273, 274. Pittsburgh Steelers -5.5 against Minnesota. Actually, for the sake of the show, we'll give out 5 because Bookmaker has 5 at -115. Over/under is 45.5. A lot of talk this week, Ryan, about Minnesota coming out of that really impressive win at home against the New Orleans Saints. But again, it was at home, and you got to go on the road now. Just keep in mind, they did give up 284 yards through the air. I think Big Ben at home here is a great play. I love the Steelers and anything under a touchdown at home against really anyone. They have a great offense. Le'Veon Bell's back for another week here, kind of getting back into the swing of things. And I'm starting to see, Ryan, a defense in Pittsburgh that is starting to look pretty damn good. You add Joe Hayden, which is a nice pickup. You got some players in the draft, and Watt and then Matakevich last week, who both made big plays over the weekend. And you have a pretty good front seven as well. I think they have some really good linebackers, Bud Dupree and some others. I really like what they're doing on defense. And when I can get them under 5, 5.5, they didn't have a great week last week, only beating Cleveland by 3. They need to fix some things they did in the passing game. But overall, I don't think Sam Bradford will have quite the game he did last week. I'm going to go with the Steelers here, -5. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to our podcast, previously, you know that I usually always am on the Steelers at home. That's just one thing. You always say you like betting the Patriots, never bet against the Patriots, which is a great motto. I never bet against them. Either I don't bet them, or I don't bet the game, or I bet the Steelers at home. That's just me. That's the direction I go. They're tremendous at home. They have one of the best home field advantages in the NFL. Big Ben splits at home are ridiculous compared to when he's on the road, i.e. last week was just okay. Comes back home this week for the home opener. Minnesota comes to town on a high after what they did on Monday night. But again, it was against the Saints. Bradford was just had all day to throw back there. He got to make Sam Bradford uncomfortable. We saw that in his time in Philly. He gets hit, he gets rattled, bad things happen. I think that's what will happen with Pittsburgh here. And I think Pittsburgh wins this game pretty comfortably, actually. I think they win this game somewhere around 10 points, somewhere in that range. So I'm gonna go with Pittsburgh as well.
Yeah, I'm looking at like 31-17, something like that. 31-20 maybe. I think they get the job done here, and you kind of shut up Viking fans for a week or so. Next one, Chicago at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay laying 7 over/under 43.5 or 44. We'll go 43.5. That's what most books have here. I'm not a big fan, Ryan, of betting on teams that have not played yet. However, Tampa Bay, I'm excited about. I'm ready to see what this team has. And I have a feeling if you missed Chicago last week, I'm not really looking to bet them this week. I think it's rare that you're going to get Chicago covering a number like this 2 weeks in a row. And I think Tampa Bay was chomping at the bit, ready to go. I'm excited about this football team. I think defensively they're going to be pretty strong as well. And I'm just not sure that on the road I want to get anywhere near Chicago. I think they overachieved last week, and I don't think they can do it again against another NFC South opponent. I don't have a ton on this game because we don't really know what happened last week because Tampa Bay didn't play. For me, I think Jameis and Deshaun Jackson and Mike Evans and everyone. Remember, Doug Martin is suspended for this game, but still capable backs there. Give me Tampa minus the 7 here. I think they get the job done against Chicago.
Yeah, I was really surprised with Chicago last week, the way they performed against Atlanta. It was at home, home opener, season opener. So, yeah, I expected a kind of a valiant effort, I guess, from Chicago there. Now they got to go to Tampa. Tampa hasn't played. They're chomping at the bit to finally play a game after the game last week obviously got canceled due to the hurricane. Everyone knows the story. Yeah, I like their offense here. Obviously, everyone pretty much in the country likes Tampa Bay's offense. Going to be interesting to finally see them in action. But, yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, though, Jeff, saying it's not every day Chicago is going to cover back-to-back weeks. So, excuse me, they cover last week, i.e., I don't think they cover this week. I think Tampa comes out in their first game of the season and handles business pretty easily. If you got Tampa Bay players on your fantasy team, I think you're going to be pretty happy this week.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, if you missed last week, I think you missed the boat. There might be other opportunities this year to get Chicago. They're not I don't think they're the Jets. They're not a good football team. But you'll have options to maybe bet on this team coming up. Next game, LA Chargers and the Miami Dolphins. Miami didn't play last week, Ryan. They were another team that had an
Correct.
off week. Chargers are minus 3.5. Totals at 45.5. And I kind of like the over in this game. And that's kind of the play I'm going to look towards here. I think you have plenty of weapons on both sides of the ball. We saw last week, Philip Rivers had no trouble moving the football, even with some people out. Melvin Gordon, a pretty good back as well. You get a good back from Miami and Ajayi. I just think they're also going to be coming out here and ready to go. Wouldn't be surprised if we see some mistakes here from Jay Cutler. Sets up a good field position here. I don't know if we're going to see a ton of overs again this week, but I think this one's one I'm looking for. I think, I'm not in love with Miami's secondary with, Byron Maxwell and Nate Allen, former Eagle rejects. You got Kiko Alonso in there as well. I just think we see some points in this game. I think this one's like a 28-24 kind of game. I don't think we see a ton of defense here, Ryan. Any thoughts?
The first thought that comes to my head is a quote from Chargers defensive end Melvin Ingram, who was asked today what problems Jay Cutler presents to the Chargers defense, and he responded with one word: nothing, which is one of the better quotes I've ever heard. I read that and I legit laughed out loud. That's fantastic, and I think he's right to an extent. Denver, or excuse me, I think LA, the Chargers, probably think they should have played a little better than they did last week on defense. I don't think they would have thought Trevor Siemian would have had the success that he had. I didn't think Trevor Siemian would have the success that he was able to have last week. It was at home, I get that, but still, they should have clamped down on Siemian a little better. Here, they're home. They get their home opener here against a Miami team who, like you said, hasn't played. So we're not sure what we're going to get with Jay Cutler there. But I think San Diego, God, it's such a hard habit to break. I think the Chargers basically just outscore Miami here. With Byron Maxwell and the corner situation there in Miami is such a shuffle. You're not sure what you're going to get. Well, you kind of know what you're going to get. It's not anything good. And with Keenan Allen back and the playmakers that the Chargers present, I got to lean Chargers here in their home opener. So I'll lay what current line are we using? 3.5, 3?
3.5.
3.5. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll lay the 3.5 with the Chargers.
I will point out about Melvin Ingram's comment. I feel like if you're going to say something like that, make sure it's someone that we know who they are. I didn't even know who this guy was until you said something.
Okay.
I'm sure he's out there, but I'm ashamed by you, Ron. You're usually a guy that doesn't like this sort of thing, but um, no,
I think it's fun.
he's not
Because
wrong
I don't
though. I mean,
I know
that's the
I just
point.
like the whole I like the whole like picking on Jay Cutler thing. I think it's funny.
Yeah,
I do.
I think it's
I think it's hilarious. I think
I
it's
think it's
always been
funny to a
hilarious.
point because I feel like he definitely doesn't care. But
Right.
I think he's better than people say he is personally. But
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, he's not
I
terrible.
guess.
I mean, he's not Scott Tolzien or something like that. He's
Sure.
serviceable. I think he'll score some points. Um,
I
and
will.
and after Melvin Ingram's little stunt last week, he might want to just I mean, he might just want to cool it a little bit.
Sure.
But overall, I'm going to go with over 45.5 here. Ryan D'Amico is going to go with Chargers minus 3.5. So that could be a big one for us, Ryan. We get 2 picks in that game. Oakland minus 13 against the Jets. 13's at bookmaker right now. Minus 110 over under 43.5. Ryan, I think this is one of the better bets of the week. And I think if you know or have a brain and know anything about football, you probably know where I'm going to go here. But I want to make sure that people are well aware. It's rare you're going to make a lot of money betting double-digit favorites in the NFL. It's just not something you get very often. But it's also rare you get a team of the Jets traveling across country, playing a team making their home debut. I think the Oakland fans present a tough problem for the Jets this week. I think the Jets are a poor football team that really have no value looking up. They're going to be a team you're going to bet against all year. Valiant effort Sunday, and I think it was more the Bills just not trying very hard. But I think they're going to get crushed in this game. I think this is like a 38-10 type of game. If this game was 16.5, I'd lay it. I wouldn't have a problem with it. I would lay 19.5 probably. I don't even care. Give me the Raiders in a blowout. Any thoughts, Ryan? We don't have to
Yeah,
spend a lot of time, I don't think, on this.
if I were to get involved, that's the direction I would go. Is the Raiders, like you said, home opener, Jets have to come across the country.
If you were to get involved, you don't like
I'm a
this game,
pet.
Ryan? You're not interested? You don't like it?
No, I do. I just like you said. I mean, I think you are accurate in saying you're not. It's not you're not going to make a ton of money betting double digit favorites all the time. But in a spot like this, yeah, that's the side I would lean for sure. Is the Raiders? I mean, they should really have no trouble here. With the Jets. So yeah, pretty cut and dry though. I mean, it's really cut and dry. They're one of the worst teams in the league, and the Raiders, are one of the top 10 teams in the league. So sounds good.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Ryan, we're doing this Thursday night. We're shooting this video Thursday night, and as you know, Ryan, the Cleveland Indians are going for their 22nd straight win. I
Yeah.
bet against them tonight. So
Oh, no kidding.
they're losing in the 6th inning. So
Are they losing?
root me in. It's 2-1.
2-1, 2-1
in the
Yep.
6th. So hopefully
I see
we can
that.
get a win here. Again, we'll
That's
see how it
crazy, by the
goes.
way, what they're doing.
Yeah, it definitely
It's
is.
really crazy.
Let's move on. We get a couple more here, Ryan. So for the record, you would agree Oakland's the play.
Correct.
Very good. Let's go to the next one. LA Rams minus 2.5 against the Washington Redskins, over under 46. And, Ryan, I like this Rams team. I do. And I liked them before the season started. I think they have a pretty decent year coming. Look, are they going to get to the playoffs? Probably not. Actually, they're not. But I think they're going to win some games. I think they're a 5-6 win team, maybe. I like the fact that they have a new season this year, a new coach. Hard Knocks is out of there. They're in LA now. They don't have to go through all that again. Some of the players are now in there full years. Jared Goff had a big game last week. Really, everyone had a big game last week. And I'm not a big fan of backing a team making a road trip across the country. Washington is not a very good team, I don't think. They have pretty good offensive numbers. I think they're going to put up good offensive numbers. But I also think LA's got a pretty good defense. And Aaron Donald's back as well, Ryan. So that's only going to help. This is a tough game, but I'm going to go with the Rams here. I'm going to ride this team till the wheels fall off, and it could very well be this week. But I'm going to take a shot with LA again here.
Yeah, I like where your head's at, Jeff. This kind of you kind of always have one of those kind of head scratching lines, kind of the sucker lines, if you will, in the NFL, where your run of the mill NFL sports better will look at this saying, "Oh, the Redskins, boy, they lost last week against the Eagles. They're taking on the Rams. They're a better team. They got to get this win. They can't go to 0-2." Not so fast. I think LA. I think they cover and obviously win, and they get to 2-0, and continue to surprise some people. And the Redskins, you're right. I just don't think the Redskins are a very good team, and I think they go out to the West Coast here and they flounder. I like the Rams in this spot as well. Trap
Yeah.
game.
It's been a nice little start to the season for the Rams. One game in, we'll go Rams -2 and a hook here against the Redskins. Next one, Dallas Cowboys visiting the Denver Broncos. You got two pretty much everywhere. This is one you want to search out a line. If you like the dog, look for maybe Intertops or someone like that. They have 2.5 bookmaker. If you like the favorite, look at Bet Online. They have 1.5 for Dallas. But Ryan, for me, I think you just mentioned a trap game. I think this is a total trap game for Dallas. I like Denver in this football game. I think Dallas is really flying high. I often wonder about last week. I don't think it was anything that Dallas really did too well. I still wonder about their defense. I like what I saw at Denver last week. I know they kind of struggled in the second half, but overall, I think they have a really good defense. I think as long as Trevor Siemian plays like that every week, I'm going to probably be interested in Denver. I was concerned about their quarterback, but everything else I like. I like the receiving core. I like their running backs. Like I said, I like their defense. They're a pretty good kicker as well. I think Denver has some value here at home. Again, they pretty much have to win this game or lose by 1 or 2, but I get a feeling they win this football game. I like Dallas a lot, but, I think facing the Giants who can't move the ball at all and are skeptical on defense, I guess, I'm going to go with Denver here. I think they're just a more fortified team, and I think Dallas is going to struggle a little bit in this game for some reason. Give me Denver. I think a lot of people will look Dallas here, but I'm going to go the other way.
Yeah, I think a lot of people will go to Dallas, Jeff, and I think a lot. Obviously, a lot of people went Dallas last week,
They're a
and like you
public team,
mentioned
Ryan.
in the beginning of the show, right? They're a public team, and they covered for the public last week, and I agree with you. Initially, when in the beginning of the week, I was kind of leaning Dallas, but after seeing, kind of going back and watching Denver again, and kind of some of their highlights, and I'm really impressed with the way Trevor Siemian played, and if he can play that way every week, not turning the ball over, 2 touchdowns, just kind of be efficient, not wow anyone, but not lose the game either. That's all you need out of Trevor Siemian. He has plenty of playmakers around them that he needs to get to the football too. So if he can do that against the Cowboys defense, who is nothing special, they are just a big beneficiary of the offense. Denver always a tough place to play. I think Dallas goes in there and struggles. Give me Denver as well.
Very good. Denver +2.5. I wouldn't hate buying the half point here if you can.
Sure.
Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I don't. In this one, I don't hate it, but we'll see how it goes. I might wait on this one until kick, but for the sake of the show, we'll go 2.5. San Francisco at Seattle. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one either. 14 for Seattle. Totals at 42. I'm going to go under. I don't think San Francisco is going to add much to this total whatsoever. I think they're just a team that can't move the football, and they have 2 real struggles to start the season. Pretty good defense in Carolina, first game out of the season, and then you got to face Seattle in Seattle. I'd be surprised if they score more than 10 points, to be honest. I think Seattle wins fairly easily. I think this is like a 27-10 type of game. 24-13, something like that. It'll be right around the total. But for the sake of it, I'm going to go under 42. I just don't I think if this goes over, Seattle's going to score a lot of points. This would be like a 38-7 type of game. But I think San Francisco is good enough defensively to keep it pretty low scoring. Would you be surprised, Ryan, if this game's 13-6 or something? I wouldn't.
I'll be honest. I'll be surprised if Seattle comes out and struggles on offense again like they did. That was one of the probably top 3 biggest surprises for me in week one was how bad they struggled against a Green Bay defense that last year was one of the worst in football. So if they do that again this week at home, a place that notoriously they do obviously score more points than on the road, that would surprise me. But this game is weird because it's the biggest spread of the week, which I'm kind of surprised after what I saw from them last week. Um, so side goes, I'm not really in love with that. The total, yeah, I guess I'll hop on with you, but this game doesn't really do much for me. So I'll just piggyback off your play here. Not much for me on this game, Jeff.
Under 42, 49ers Seahawks. The last game, Ryan, uh, Falcons -3 against the Packers, over under 54.5. A lot of points in this game. I don't have a ton on this game. I really just I think it's a toss up. I could make cases for both sides. I do think Atlanta's slightly a better football team, though. I don't like betting against Rodgers, so for me, it's a pass. I wonder how good Green Bay's defense is. I think a lot of that last week was just I think the Seattle Seahawks just struggled to move the football. I think Atlanta's improved on defense. I think they're going to be better. I think Vic Beasley's going to cause some trouble. And it's in Atlanta in front of the new fans in the new stadium. So I'm not big on emotional momentum edges. I don't think they mean a ton in NFL. But it will be a nice atmosphere, a fun atmosphere to open the season. And I'm going to hope this is a good game, Ryan, because last week we had to do a play-by-play for this game on SBRpicks.com, and we had a really tough time with Dallas and New York. It wasn't a fun game by any means. So
Sure.
I'm going to go for the sake of the video. I'm going to go with -3 here for Atlanta. I think they get the job done. I think they win this one 24-20.
Yeah, I think it was really imperative that Green Bay got that win and were able to find a way to win that game last week because of the spot they're in this week. Um, Going to Atlanta, going to the new stadium, that place should obviously be rocking. Atlanta last week, clearly just in a look ahead spot, really struggling, almost lost that game in Chicago, clearly looking ahead to this big Sunday night matchup against Green Bay, a rematch of last year's conference championship game. Indoors, though, at home, I tend to favor Atlanta as well. Let's see, like you said, let's see what that Green Bay defense really is made of. Seattle's offense doesn't have a ton of guys that are going to wow you. So the same can't be said, though, for Atlanta. They have playmakers all over the place. So I'm more inclined, though, to think that Atlanta at home gets the job done. I'll lay the 3 as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. We'll go one more here. We'll finish it out and do the Monday night game. Giants -3, total 43. Giants, Detroit. I don't have a ton on this game. I didn't look this far ahead, but I'm not back at the Giants. I'll take Detroit blind here. I'm just not interested in the Giants without Odell Beckham. I'm sorry. I don't think they're very good with him offensively, and I don't think it's going to be any easier without him. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a lower scoring game here. Monday Night Football usually goes under, but for the sake of the video, just because we're going to give a pick out in every game, I like what I saw out of Detroit. I like their moxie to come back in that game and really take it to a pretty decent Arizona defense. I'll go Detroit plus the 3. I'm not quite sure how you can lay point to the Giants this week.
Yeah, you kind of you said what I was thinking. I can't bet on the Giants after what I saw last week. That offensive line is just downright pathetic, and especially adding the fact that you're not getting Odell again this week. He said that his injury is a 6 to 8 week injury, and if that's the case, he's got 2 or 3 more weeks left on the shelf. So, yeah, he's going to be out. The running game still gives you nothing. Paul Perkins looked awful. And then Detroit, look, credit them for coming back after kind of falling behind early with the pick 6 from Stafford. It'll be interesting to see how they do against the Giants defense. But yeah, I just can't put my money in that offensive line and with Eli Manning. So I'll grab the points with the Lions, Jeff.
Yeah, I think we all agree. Let's recap here, Ryan. These are our plays for every game. We both like Tennessee -1. We both like Cleveland and Baltimore under 39. We both like what'd you say? You like Carolina or you like the under in that game, Ryan?
I like the Bills.
Okay, that's right. You like the Bills. I'm sorry. You
Yeah,
like the Bills at plus 8.5. I'm going to go under 43. We both like New England -6 and the team total over at the opener at Bookmaker. We also like Indianapolis plus 7.5. We like the Eagles at +6. We like Pittsburgh at -5. We like Tampa at -7. We like the Chargers at -3.5 and the over 45.5. We like Oakland -13.5. We like the Rams -2.5. We like Denver +2.5. We like Seattle and San
under.
Francisco 49ers under 42. We like Green Bay. Or actually, we like Atlanta -3 against Green Bay. And we like Detroit +3 at New York. Ryan, as always, I thank you for coming on, covering college football as well as the NFL. Any final words?
You got it. No, not really. Just keep following us, like the page, subscribe, follow, give us a like, hit the like button right below the video, and just spread the word a little bit here. What Jeff and I are doing, we've been doing for some time now, but using the YouTube channel platform, something we haven't done in the past. So, spread the word, give us a like, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Thank you,
Yeah,
Jeff.
and before we go, Ryan, I do want to point something out, something I'm considering working on, and I'm trying to get the kind of the kinks worked out and just kind of do it as we go. I'm working on next year, and I'm going to plan this out and really kind of go into some work and doing this. I'm working on creating a channel, basically dedicated to the Eagles fan. Um, Most football teams have some sort of voice, but I want to go down to every game and I want to interview fans and I want to be there when they win, be there when they lose. And I'm starting basically this year a show after the game, like a breakdown, a post game show. Catch it, hit the show, subscribe, like. We're building the channel up here. Obviously, I do things at SBR, and that has my channel growing, but at SBR. But over here, I want to create my own thing and my own channel. So, like, subscribe, comment. As Ryan said, we'll see you next week for NFL Week 3. Have a great week. Bye bye.